Now we got everybody. Good morning. Hello. We're all just waiting for you. Excited to hear what you got to share with us today, Dr. Rich Melheim. I'm glad we were able to make this work. And you're on mute. Hang on. There we go.
How are
Now
we
we've
doing?
got.
All right. Well, I'm glad to be with you all as well. If we can do a screen share, I've got some stuff that would be fun to show everybody.
Yeah, you are ready. We've got you on there. So welcome to the community. We're so grateful to have you back with us and excited to see what you've got to share with us today. I know some of us have been following your Tuesdays at 2, and a lot of the women I know watched the interview with Marlene Peterson. So
Yeah, we had some fun and we're going to have some more fun as well. And I'm pretty excited about what you are doing to connect heads and hearts and arts and all of those things. My background is a bored dyslexic child who had to use music, art, dance, theater, and cartoons to remember anything, all the way into my doctoral studies. All over my notes are obnoxious cartoons and pictures of my teachers and such. But I've always been interested in short-circuiting the short circuit of learning disabilities. Are there some things that you can do that can bypass whatever's not working? And it turns out the arts are it. And that's why somebody who might stutter has no trouble singing. That's why, like when Gabby Gifford was shot in the head, she learned to walk again with music and percussion and beats. And what you do with the arts is you connect so much more of the brain and the body and the environment into the learning process. It's like if you're only trying to talk to a kid, you're trying to hold that thought with, one finger. But if you're talking and singing and dancing and arting, and it's like you're tying all kinds of things into the learning process. And that's why you have more attention and more retention, more creativity, more collaboration, more confidence, more competence, more fun, more dopamine, which means I want to do this again, less cortisol, which means I'll have better sleep and I'll have better memory consolidation. All of that happens when you infuse the arts, not as a sideline, but as the core of your learning, and you wrap everything into the arts. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Does that make sense?
okay. Sounds great. And I think you've got a lot of very interested mothers and ones who will receive this because they are seeing this in their own lives. So
okay, wonderful. There's somebody named Jenny in the waiting room, we'll admit. All right, I want to just show you a little something fun. After building a Christian education publishing company and my wife and I running it for 30 years, I had focused on adolescence because I know that's such a touch point and a hard time for parents and kids. And then after about 10 years, we thought we have to go younger. And so we went into elementary. And then I started doing all of this brain neurology studies on how kids learn best, when kids learn best, why kids learn best. And it became clear to me that when you lie down and when you rise is the most powerful learning time you have in your entire life. If Moses in Deuteronomy 5 didn't know the neurology behind it, he at least had a pretty good hint. Because when you lie down and when you rise will impact your sleep, they'll impact your attitude, it'll impact your
try to get this on.
all of these things happen when you lie down and when you rise.
I want to watch this, but get it out and I'll try to set you up.
Very, very important. Somebody needs to go on mute there for a second. Anyway, as we evolved, the company was called Faith Incubators. We started writing goofy skits. We put scripture to music, wrote 265 Bible songs verbatim, the verse, the whole verse, and nothing but the verse. We did role plays and engagements and all kinds of fun whole body learning, not just talking to the ears, not just talking to the brain, but every one of your brain cells is connected to 10,000 to 100,000 other brain cells. So we came to realize the whole body as a learning tool with music and motion and emotion and art and dance and theater, using the whole body as a learning tool, and then using your friends. And that's what drama does. That's what dance does. Singing together does. It's like an exo brain. You can hold memories outside of your own body, outside of your own brain, if you're doing something communally. And as we continued to study, we were looking at preschool and the preschool brain. And Harvard came out with a graph that showed that between 3 and 6, you have more growth in your brain, like 85% of the growth in the prefrontal cortex and what you're going to have for brain happens at those powerful years from the time you're mobile and talking a little more, 3 to 6. And it became clear to us that we better focus on preschool. And if you focus on building a preschool brain, it's like you add 10 lanes to the highway of learning for the rest of your life. I see we have people from all over the country on the Zoom today. If those of you in LA, could you imagine being on the 405 with 2 lanes open during rush hour? Whatever your worst highway is during rush hour in your town, think of opening 10 more lanes. And what could you do if you had 10 more lanes to travel on? If you do your early work, and by the way, the ears are fully myelinated in the womb, and the child will be born already knowing the songs you sing to them. The child will already be born knowing which voices lower your cortisol and which voices raise your cortisol. The book, The Scientist in the Cradle, 3 social psychologists grabbed babies at birth to try to see what do they know at birth. And it's amazing how much they already know. The people that annoyed mother during her pregnancy, the kid will look at that person and look away and not look back. The people who gave mom some joy and relief, they'll stare longer at the face that already gave mother some joy. You have a womb with a view. Whatever you do, get started the moment you know, or even before you're pregnant, with these healthy things that we're going to talk about today. But from the 3 to 6, those are the magic years to design that brain with the 10-lane highway open for learning. And when you lie down and when you rise are the most priceless and precious times in the whole day. We're going to talk about brain-based learning on arts-based platforms. We're going to talk about maximizing how the brain learns best and pouring high-octane fuel into this high-performance sports car. You don't put cheap fuel in a high-performance sports car and expect optimal results. You don't sit to learn. And when we designed our preschool project, we knew that that was going to be a key time. We gathered 36 musicians, and we gathered the woman who helped write the early learning standards for the state of Wisconsin. And we gathered advisors from Harvard and Tufts University and the Neuroscience Institute in San Diego. And we simply asked the question, what would be the optimal learning environment for kids who are bouncing off the walls anyway? And it came down to bouncing off the walls, but with a purpose, and embedding whatever we want to learn in about 20 minutes of active learning, followed by, and that's, focused with embedding whatever we want to embed in that 20 minutes in music and dance and art, etc. And then about 20 minutes unfocused, but with that same music and thought playing, and then free time. And it's not like recess once in the morning and once afternoon. Your brain will solidify the memories better if you have some time off. If you teach this to other parents, what you could do is you could take a bottle of water and a bottle cap, and you could say, can I pour all this water into the bottle cap? And they'll say no. And then you pour a little, sip a little, pour a little, sip a little, pour. Guess what? You can, but you have to absorb it, and it can't all come at once. there is a law of decreasing returns if you're trying to teach. Okay, now take a break. Teach. No. Teach a little, but do it in the way we're going to show you. And then take some time and absorb it. Teach a little, absorb it. And then you have to talk to parents. And it's easier with homeschool parents, by the way, because they're already hopefully doing their nightly ritual. I call them in rituals. You're enriching rituals and in going back to those key things that you wanted to do during the day. Okay. Any questions before we go into some neurology?
Yes, there was a question asking about why. Can you explain a little bit more about the why of the importance of timing when you lay down and wake up?
Absolutely.
Also, if you want to come back to us rather than screen sharing, we'd love to see you while you're talking.
Okay, let me give you 2 minutes and I'll come back, okay?
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, I became a preschool teacher for the first summer to test this. I had 10 kids. I lost 15 pounds in 7 weeks, jumping and dancing and singing and trying out all the songs and the art and everything. And then we thought, okay, it works if I do it because I'm crazy and kids will follow me anywhere, but what will happen if I hand it off to teachers? And so we went to India. We threw all the desks away. We built a spongy, foamy floor so we could dance and move and everything like that. We got some giant water jugs to hydrate. And we decided that we were going to try this brain-based learning on arts-based platforms in the following way, the richest learning we could. Who could ask for more? Once the music starts, little feet leave the floor. There we go. Kids start dancing, jumping, prancing, laughing, spelling, you're learning, yelling. Bodies bumping, hearts are pumping. Who could ask for more? Well, more what? More oxygen. That's what you want in your kid's head to make them attentive. More glucose, which is the sugar that feeds the cells, to make them more retentive. More brain fertilizer, BDNF, to give you more nerve cells, more connections on the nerve cells, and more receptors on the connections on the neurons. And when you're moving, you're reducing cortisol, the toxic stress hormone that kills baby brain cells. Cortisol constricts blood vessels. It restricts the flow of oxygen, glucose, and the brain fertilizer. And we're getting rid of it when we're moving. And after that time, water up, and now we can sit. Lungs, which are made mostly of water, tend to dehydrate when we're moving. So you want to water up. Your favorite thing possible is going to be water. Now we can take out the books if you're using books. Now we can learn in this other way. Okay. So rich learning stands for, you ready for this? It stands for recognize, identify, comprehend, harness. And if you embed whatever is the facts or whatever is the information in what you're trying to teach, if you embed that in the song and you make up a dance and then you create some art, keep the music playing and all that sort of, we have 500 early learning songs if you want to test some for me. Then you have the most attention you're going to have of all. And you can sit down now, but we never learn anything new sitting in a chair. Never learn anything new sitting in a chair. Why wouldn't we use the maximum oxygen, maximum glucose, maximum brain fertilizer? Can you see the screen? Can you see my screen? You can't. Okay.
Not right now.
All right, we'll come back to it.
Let me see.
All right, when you lie down and when you rise. Certain things happen in the wind down process at night, and they are psychological, they are sociological, they are neurological, And if you're a person of faith, they are theological when you lie down and when you rise. I asked the question in 100 cities to pastors, parents, and teachers on 5 continents. And I asked them psychologically, what happens when you have a peaceful wind down at the end of the night where you can go through whatever happened that day? Psychologically, okay, there's the Psalm, I will both lie down and sleep in peace, for you alone, O Lord, make me lie down in safety. If you can, by the way, if you want sign language, I have 75 scriptures in sign language, American Sign Language, if you want. If you can lie down knowing that you're safe, the cortisol, which is the toxic stress hormone, the cortisol, which blocks melatonin, the sleep hormone, the cortisol that prematurely wrinkles, ages, and sags your skin, the cortisol that tells your belly fat to stick around because you may never eat another day in your life, the cortisol washes away. If you're with someone who talks to you like you really matter, looks in your eyes like you matter, asks you not just how was your day, fine, but really what was your high today? What was your low today? If they can give you that safe space, it changes so much psychologically. I'm safe. Sociologically, these people, I can trust these people. And people who love each other talk. Imagine what gift you would give to your daughter or your son if they went into relationships someday knowing that there is a sacred time and a sacred space, and people who love each other talk. They don't just hold it inside. You hold that inside and it poisons you, right? The word salve and salvation come from the same root word, by the way, right? So do the words catharsis and catheter, but we won't go into that right now. Anyway, you got to get the crap out. You have to feel safe. You don't hold the trash or it starts to stink after a while. If you can do these things at night when you lie down and then talk about whatever it is you are struggling with today, whatever the challenges were, what was the good stuff that happened today? All of that stuff allows you, I will both lie down and sleep in peace, for you alone, O Lord, make me lie down in safety. It is such a gift. Now, in the book Brain Rules by Dr. John Medina, University of Washington molecular biologist, he explains what the brain does between rapid eye movement and slow wave movement sleep. You go through cycles of about 90 minutes. And in rapid eye movement, your brain, that's the dream phase, the brain is replaying symbolically key events of the day, key new things of the day, key threats of the day. And it is trying to symbolically put those things into something that you can imagine and visualize and conquer. And your brain does this thousands of times during the night. Even though you say, oh, I don't really dream. Well, guess what? You do. If you listen to a brain that's awake, you'll hear the electrical chatter of the neurons firing. If you listen to a brain during dream phase, you don't go to sleep. You go wide awake. But all of the visual cortex and all of the emotional centers of the brain, they are playing against each other. And symbolically, those key things will show up. My doctorate is in a branch of linguistic philosophy called semiotics that studies symbols and signs and meaning. Why does anything mean anything to anybody? I get to speak next week at the Nobel Youth Conference on sleep, and I'm using some of this basic Bible stuff on I will both lie down and sleep in peace, and when you lie down and when you rise. And there's a crazy verse in Job. The Lord speaks in one way and in two, though people don't understand it. In a dream, in the vision of the night, rapid eye movement, rapid eye movement, rapid eye movement. And when deep sleep falls on mortals, slow wave movement. Do you know what happens between rapid eye movement and slow wave movement? During rapid eye movement, all of your gatekeepers are off. And that's why you can walk through a wall. That's why you'll say things you'll do or walk around naked or you got no gatekeepers in your dreams, right? Right? But during slow wave sleep, the visual turns off, the emotional turns off, and your memory banks come alive. You are reaching deep into the vault of what you already know to make sense of what was new today. So here's the new, symbolically playing. Turn that off, and now I'm going to what I already knew. What did grandma used to say? You know, what situation have I already had that makes this a dumb decision? What did I say I would never do that I'm doing again with my friend or with this dumb guy I shouldn't be dating or whatever it is? And that's also, if you're a person of faith, why you don't store your scriptures here. You put them to memory and you put them to music. Thy word have I hid in my heart that I might not sin against you, because you can access those things that you have embedded and you've done over and over and over. My dad, toward the end of his life, slipped into dementia, but he still knew the old hymns. He still knew the Lord's Prayer. He still knew all those things that were hardwired, embedded. You can lose everything, but those things that you embed, as the scriptures say, myelinate the neurons when they are young, and when they are old, they will not depart from it, right? Whatever you put in the vault and go over and over and over on is going to be there when you need it, and it's going to be there in your sleep. It's like you might have 15 shows on your Netflix queue coming up, but the ones that are right there, next, those are going to be the default that you go to. And that's where whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, if there's any excellence, if there's anything worthy of praise, think on these things, right? And a couple of verses later, it says, and the God of peace will be with you. You put the good in, you hardwire the good, and you do it over and over, and especially with music and motion and art and such like that. And you are building a little fatty tissue on your nerve cells called myelin. Think of the nerve cell as a wire, and a wire is firing, right? You put better insulation on a wire, it's going to fire more efficiently. And that's what the myelin does. When you repeat, you're insulating the wires. You're hardwiring them together. You're making so many more connections if you use the arts and learning, and you're making more efficient connections that'll be there. Sometimes even when you don't want them. When my mother was dying, my younger sister came to her and kind of made some peace with her and said, you know, Mom, I wish I could have been a better daughter. I wish we could have had more time. I wish. And, you know, I know that even when I was on dates, you were always in my head saying, nope, don't do that. You were always there. And Mom said, you know, I will always be your mother, right? In the book, Tuesdays with Maury, it talked about, you might lose the physical person, but you never lose that relationship, right? And that's where, when you lie down and when you rise, you can embed what you want them to have the rest of their life. Because the brain is going to be replaying those last things of the day over and over and over again. There's 5 things I like to do at night. And if you want to go to the website, faithandthenumber5.org, faithnumber5.org, I like to share our highs and lows. What was good today? Start with the positive, right? And the lows, what was not so good. And there's a psychology, a sociology, a neurology, and a theology of rejoicing with those who rejoice and weeping with those who weep. If you want to do that as another show sometime, I wrote a book called Holding Your Family Together based on these basic 5 principles. But sharing highs and lows. If you only know your child's high, you don't know them. If you only know their low, you don't know them. And if they don't know their own highs and lows, they don't know themselves either, right? And so this is about both self-awareness and other awareness. And it's a beautiful thing to do at the beginning of your wind down process, highs and lows. If you're a person of faith, I go next from share to read and to go to your favorite scriptures, or go to the scripture that was preached in worship. Or if you're not a person of faith, go to the greatest quotes of all times and people that you've read, and go into that in a way that maybe there's something new for me here. Maybe there's something I can learn. Maybe there's a message for me. The word seminary means seed bed, and your home becomes a seed bed for whatever you plant at night. You're going to grow those seeds, because whatever the last thing they think about, they're going to be going through that all night long, even though they're not aware and you're not aware. Share and read and talk. Maybe that reading speaks to their high today, and you can celebrate that. Maybe that reading speaks to their low today, and you can say, is there something we can learn about this? In the book, The Female Brain by Dr. Louise Brezinen, she goes into the difference between little male and female brains. And the brains are growing at the same speed in the womb up until the testosterone kicking in. And at the point that testosterone kicks in, the little girl's brain up above the left ear in the linguistic and phonic centers, it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. And guess what? At birth, the little girl's going to have 11% more brain tissue dedicated to talking and listening than the little boy. At birth. And the little boy's brain's going to have significantly more brain tissue dedicated to action and aggression and sex at birth. There's just more terabytes dedicated to these things at birth. The wonderful thing about the plasticity of the brain, however, is the more you exercise something, the stronger you get. It's like lifting. The more you lift, the more capacity you grow to lift. The more you talk it out instead of knocking it out, the more capacity you grow to talk it out. The more you take turns listening, the more capacity you get to listen. Whatever you'll see what you seed, guaranteed. Hey, quote me on that. You will see what you seed, guaranteed. You're going to grow what you plant, but you need to do it over and over and over in order to myelinate it. So that was a long answer to the question, why when you lie down? Well, the brain's going to go through these, and you need at least, at a bare minimum, to go through the 6 different 90-minute segments. According to the American Sleep Institute, the average teenager in America is not getting enough sleep. 85% aren't getting the minimum amount of sleep. The best gift you could give as a parent is enforcing a regular bedtime and making sure they get whatever age they're at. You can read on what's the amount of sleep they need. The best gift you could give them for the rest of their life. Girls who don't get adequate sleep have significantly more emotional problems in adolescence, significantly. Boys who don't get enough sleep have significantly more behavioral problems. And it seems like the little girl will often punish herself if she can't deal with these things. And that's where bulimia and anorexia and cutting seems to be a little girl thing. And the boy seems to knock it out, punish somebody else. Somebody's going to pay for this if we don't get enough sleep. The best gift you can give. And I'm sorry to say that giving them extra time on the weekend doesn't do their brain any good at all. It's the same circadian rhythm that you want to inhabit every night that does their brain the best. So, oh, it's the weekend, you can stay up 2 more hours. Yeah, it doesn't do that. It's like you're going into a different time zone and you're not going to recover for a couple days. You're just not. Every hour is going to take you another day to recover, which means you get halfway to the weekend before you're really back on it. All right. when you lie down and when you rise. Back to the Job verse. God speaks in one way and in two, though people don't understand it. I think it's Job 30. In a dream and a vision of the night, rapid eye movement, rapid eye movement, rapid eye movement. When deep sleep falls on mortals, slow wave movement, slow wave movement. And when they slumber in their beds, God opens their ears. That's the rest of the verse. If you could give yourself the gift of, I'm going to lay in bed and just listen and say, what did I learn tonight? Right in those liminal moments between awake and asleep. That's why I tell everybody to go to bed 15 minutes earlier and give yourself that 15 minutes in the morning. Have you ever woken up after a good night's sleep and you knew exactly what you needed to do to solve your problem? It's like, I know. When they slumber in their beds, in that liminal time, you are most aware of whatever you planted the night before and your brain was working on all night long. So keep a journal, jot down your highs and your lows and your prayers. Talk about it, share, read, talk, pray. If you're a person of faith, God, give me the answer. I'm going to sleep. I'll pick up the answer in the morning, right? And then a person of faith giving a blessing. Those are, if you want to go to the website, faithandthenumber5.org, all of that's outlined there. And I have little video segments that talk about that as well.
Dr. Melheim, before you move on, there's a quick question, couple of quick questions.
Okay.
One is, how do you find out what their circadian rhythms are? I know you can find out sleep schedules online. You mentioned that. And then the second question, any suggestions for getting teenagers to follow a sleep schedule?
Teenagers will always argue about everything, and they will test you. And it's like pushing off the swimming pool, off the edge of the swimming pool, and swimming around for a while. And then if they're in trouble, they know that there's a hard edge there that they can come back to. You being the parent, not the buddy, you being the enforcer, you showing them the science. I want you to have the best life possible and the best brain possible. And guess what? Your friends are going to sleep with this, which means the most neurotic, least supervised kid in the group of friends is going to set the sleep schedule for everybody else. Does this make any sense? You, an adult with a fully developed prefrontal cortex, are giving a thing that's going to destroy your child's brain and close down lanes on the highway? Remember the golden rule. She who has the gold makes the rule. Who's paying for this? Are you paying for a communication device for a kid who doesn't communicate with you? That doesn't make any sense at all. This should go in the freezer. If you're paying for this, it's not their phone, it's your phone. This is your phone, right? Honey, I think maybe it would be helpful for you to have a flip phone. For, to be in communication with me at time. But guess what? I will hand it to you when you rise, and we will take it back and we'll put it in the kitchen or whatever, because my phone, I can put it wherever I want to, right? But here are the facts on sleep, and I just want the best for you. And by the way, sweetheart, I went up 2 dress sizes and turned prematurely gray for you. You owe me this one, right?
Yeah.
This is how we're going to do. We're going to live healthy in all of our aspects of life. And sleep is going to make, just a world of difference for you. There are sleep psychologists who believe that our idea of the owly, angry adolescent has more to do with sleep deprivation than it does to hormones today. Because for most of human history, when it got dark, you went to sleep.
Right.
Dangerous out there. And, you didn't have even a book to read, let alone an erotic friend to keep you up all night long, right? So it's been in such a short window of human history that we just haven't been getting the sleep that we need. So that's the best thing to first say, I've been doing more research. I love you to death, honey. I would take a bullet for you without thinking twice. On certain days, I might not do that for anyone else in the family, but I will do it for you. So me, an adult with a fully developed prefrontal cortex, has made a decision here that's going to help you and bless you the rest of your life, even when I'm not there. And that is, we're going to try to get in some really healthy communication patterns. And that's where highs and lows and share, read, talk, pray, bless. And we're going to get into some healthy sleep patterns. And let's just try it for 40 days and see what happens. This is one sneaky way to get into it. Let's try it for 40 days. The Princeton study that they built 40 Days of Purpose on showed that you can start to rewire a brain in about 40 days. And so we're going to try, we'll be scientific about this, and we'll keep a note, we'll keep a journal. Let's just see if things aren't a little bit better. And if they are, maybe they'll be a lot better if we have better judgment and better understanding and better relationships and better thinking skills. And by the way, your brain works on math at night, so better sleep will give you better math scores, and it'll give you the new thing that happened today will collide with the thing you already knew, and you'll know something when you wake up. I call it NK2, know. That new thing that I experienced today, we're going to talk about it before I go to sleep. We'll put it in a journal. My problem is my best friend is doing stupid things, or my dumb jerk boyfriend is this, or I don't think I'm going to be able to pass. Whatever the problem is, we're going to get it down. We're going to think about it. We're going to pray about it. We're going to wake up in the morning and say, okay, what should I do? What is my answer? If they won't go for 40 days, you just say, okay, we'll just do it for 6 weeks.
Yeah, I love it.
If they won't go for 6 weeks, okay, we'll just do it a month and a half. Month and a half. You owe that to me. Use that line. I went up 2 dress sizes and turned prematurely gay for you. You owe me a month and a half. And let's just see how everything is if we do some healthy things, right?
Yeah.
There's a book about habits. It's called Habits. And it talks about, you really have to exchange a bad habit for a good habit. You have to get some dopamine out of whatever it is you're doing. And it might take that long for the neurons to myelinate and rewire and everything. But we're going to try talking a little bit better, and we're going to try sleeping a little bit better. And when we rise, so you get any answers today? Did you learn something new? Do you have the answer? Yeah, at that moment when you lie down and when you rise, those are the powerful pieces.
I love that. And I'm sure that makes a difference. If they start seeing that you're there in those critical time periods, they're probably going to be a little more willing to go along with these crazy ideas that you are trying to implement with them. Well, and you can tell you're talking to parents, specifically moms, because the other question that popped up was where can I learn more about getting toddlers and littles on a good sleep schedule?
Yeah, John Medina wrote a book called Brain Rules, and he had so much leftover research, he wrote a book called Baby Brain Rules. So go to brainrules.com or go to Amazon and look for the book Brain Rules and Baby Brain Rules. Those are the best ones, I think, for little ones.
Great.
There are significant advantages for starting in rituals and not skipping a day.
Mm-hmm.
You don't not feed them tonight. You always feed them. How could you starve them emotionally?
Yeah.
Oh, it's too late for highs and lows. How could you starve them spiritually? And once you get into the habit, I see some with the little ones right there. They will become the enforcers. Mommy, we didn't do our highs and lows tonight. Yeah, they will be the enforcers, and you'll be giving gifts to your grandchildren. You'll be giving gifts to people you never met if you can get them healthy and in healthy patterns as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And if you didn't know this information, you didn't know how important it was to implement it. But now, with all of this good background and the reasons why, this is motivating. This helps moms to make sure that they make the time for this. So thank you.
And Lori, I can send you a PDF on, I have an addendum in the book, Holding Your Family Together, called Why Nighttime is the Right Time. And remind me that, and I'll send that, that to you.
I will.
We got how much time we have left here?
However much you want.
All right, I'm going to go to the PowerPoint, so I'm going to go back to the share thing here.
Okay.
Okay. So there's the whole book is free online if you go to Rich Learning and go to free book at the top. It's basically my science of the brain-based learning on arts-based platform. There's a chapter on music and the brain. There's a chapter on dance and movement and the brain. There's a chapter on art and the brain. There's even a chapter on fun and the brain and what you get when you're having fun. And I look at this from a molecular, a cellular, a structural, a bodily, and an environmental basis. So pop quiz. What do you get when you're moving? What one molecule really do you get when you're moving? Anyone? 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 Yep, oxygen, right? Oxygen, O2, and that's attention. You also get glucose, which is the sugar, not fructose or sucrose, but it's the sugar that feeds the neurons. You also get a molecule called BDNF, BDNF. I call it best darn nerve fertilizer. It's actually brain-derived neurotropic factor, but you don't have to know that for the test. When you're moving and learning, more brain cells are made and body cells as well. More connections are made between the learning, and more receptors on the ends of the connections are made during moving and learning. And BDNF, when it's made, also causes more BDNF to be made. So you're growing the capacity to learn even more and more. I used to say when I didn't want to learn something, don't tell me I've only got so many K in my brain, I don't have room for any more. That's not true. The more you learn, the more capacity you have to learn. It's like muscles. The more you lift, the more capacity you have to lift. Okay? So we're going to go into each of these things. We're going to go by this quickly. And then if you want to do a session just on music and the brain or art and the brain, we can do that later on this summer. I didn't know I was dyslexic until I was in my 50s. And I ran into Marianne Wolf at the Dyslexia Early Learning Lab at Tufts University. I read her book, Proust and the Squid. It was a book about dyslexia and how we learn how to read. And after reading that book, I went and visited her, and she started asking me questions. And I remembered I had to go to early reading class when I was a kid, didn't I? And I told her, I hated thick books. It was just like a pain to even pick them up, a pain. I have to read with a pen and circle and make questions. And if I really like a book, I make all those questions in the front cover and I put it in a legal pad or in a manila envelope with a sticky note and send it to the author and say, we got to talk. And almost all the authors come back to me and say, what do you want to talk about? Nobody's actually sent me my book back all marked up. By the way, that's a sneaky way to get anybody in the world that you respect to start a conversation. Okay, just mark the book all up, put it in a mailer with a note, and they'll get back to you. They really will. Okay. And we got going further and further into her studying me. And she said, I bet you were dyslexic. Let's do some tests. And sure enough, I was in my late 50s. I'm still only dyslexic when it comes to numbers. If you ask me to enter a password code that's more than 7 things, I will never get it right. I'll do it 12 times and then hand it to a 7th grader to put it in the file. I just don't get that right. Okay. We came to the conclusion after asking Marianne, how does a child learn to read? And after asking Annie Patel at the Neuroscience Institute, what does music have to do with learning? And how do we really learn with music? And after asking John Rady at Harvard, both Annie and John have been on my Tuesday show this summer, by the way, they're archived at richlearning.com. We asked John, what does muscle memory have to do with learning? We came to the conclusion that the richest way to learn anything and the way you actually learn anything that sticks is you first recognize the new thing. You have to identify it somehow. You have to comprehend how it can be used, and then you have to put it to work. You have to harness it. And by the way, the best way to put it to work is to teach somebody else how to do it, because you really have to understand it. So let's say you're learning your ABCs. I'm right now designing 36 hacks to the English language. Do you know that the letter B only shows up in 0.12% of the words? Why would you learn B equal to A and C? It doesn't make any sense. The A-E-I-O-U, yeah, they show up in every syllable and sometimes Y. But N and T show up more than any other letter, any other consonant. And if you can start with vowels and then just go to N and T, N-A-N-O-T, T-O-N, N-E-T, T-E-N, you can start spelling in 3 lessons. But also you want to use your hands as the learning tool. So N-E-T, does that look like a T? If you had the muscle memory to your spelling, oh my goodness. And let's do a magic thing. We're going to go across the room. What word am I spelling now? Ton! Ah! Dopamine, dopamine, dopamine. You can talk across the crowded room. It's just like magic. Honey, we got a secret power. We can have a secret power. Okay. Recognize. I'd have to recognize this symbol if I didn't grow up in the English language or the Western language. Okay. This is a symbol that I want to know. And I have to have somebody help me identify it. This is a C. And I have to comprehend, why does it sound like cinnamon cymbal central, and sometimes it sounds like California cauliflower coat and Coca-Cola? So we just wrote a song. When a C is followed by an O or A, it always sounds like a K, K, K. When a C is followed by an I, E, Y, it sounds like a central symbol. Give it a try. If you want to test out some of these 36 English hack songs, let me know, and we can have you test them before they're ever out. I have to comprehend that a C has certain rules that come with it. And you notice it's almost the World Spelling Championship, it's almost always Indian kids who win it. And they always ask, can you use that word in a sentence? Can you tell me where that word came from? Go, oh, this is from this CH is from the French. Okay, Champagne, Charlemagne, a C can sound like an S if it's from the French and followed by an H, right? If you know the rules, rules, English has a lot of crazy rules. We have a song called that too as well. If I can comprehend the rules, the why behind the what, I can learn this, it'll be a breeze. I have to plug my computer in here because I'm gonna lose power. Recognize, identify, comprehend, harness. That's how we learn anything. If it's new, I have to recognize, what is the context for this? It's something I maybe want to know. I have to identify, what is it? You know, your eye can see a single photon of light from a mile away, but it really doesn't mean much. What surrounds that light? What surrounds the thing that surrounds the thing that surrounds the thing? A single neuron firing doesn't really mean a lot. But what does that neuron touch? And what does the neurons it touches touch? That's the context of learning. And the more things we can touch with this learning, the more ways we can know where it fits in relationship to other things. That's the richest learning. I always like to say, in order to make a difference for the children around the world, we first must make a difference in the world around the children. What are we surrounding ourselves with? And then we need to take that new thing and put it to work and start spelling cinnamon, central, symbol, and put a C and an E. What sound do you think that this will sound like? And always embedding it in a song. When a C is followed by an E-I-Y, it makes an S sound. Give it a try. Okay. That's rich learning. Recognize. And by the way, in order to recognize, you first have to cognize.
You learn millions of words. You hear millions of words before you ever start your own. Blah, 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 mama. Mama! You hear that? My kid's a stinking genius. You try out all of this stuff. And that's why you don't keep Picasso and Chagall and Matisse from kids. You don't just do stick animals. You show them all the greatest. That's why you don't just do Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star with your kids. You let them listen to Mozart. You let them listen to Beethoven. You just give them the richest. And that's why you put a sheepskin on the floor for their little baby and let their whole body feel the touch, right? You just want to enrich everything around them with all the true, the beautiful, the right, the true. And then to help them identify it. And if you've helped them enough, they will start identifying the things on their own. And then the understanding, and that's where you as an adult really, really come in, to give them your values, to give them your context for the content. I mentioned my doctorate's in semiotics, and it's all about symbols and signs and meaning. If I gave you this symbol and said math, what is it? It's a plus. If I said this symbol and said hugs and kisses, if I said math again, what is this symbol? If I said Mandarin, you don't have a context for Mandarin, maybe? It's the number 10 in Mandarin. But without the context, these two little squiggles don't mean anything. So the context you put around anything is going to make all the difference in the child's world. Even the context you put around your problems. And an adult in an age-appropriate way sharing, yeah, I had a high and low. I had a bad day too. I had a fight or I had this or that. The context, we'll get through this. God's bigger than our biggest problem. I will both lie down and sleep in peace for, the context you wrap anything with is going to make all the difference in the world in their comprehension. And when they're out on their own, they're going to be able to put that to work as well. Recognize, identify, comprehend, harness. We talked about oxygen and glucose and brain fertilizer. We talked about getting rid of the cortisol, the stress hormone. When our little Catherine went to kindergarten the first day, she was putting her little Snoopy backpack on the hook, and I looked and there was a sign on the wall by Rita Dunn that said, if the child is not learning the way you are teaching, you must teach the way the child learns. Is there another way we can look at this? Is there another angle? Is there another direction? Giving them a math problem and 3 friends and saying, what are 3 ways we could solve this problem? Instead of giving them one answer, giving them a role play. Okay, let's pretend you're having a big fight with your sister. Big fight, okay? What might make you mad about her? Oh, this or this. Okay, now what are 3 ways we could solve this problem? And letting them be part of the solution. Yeah, maybe they're learning in one way or another, but if you put all these things together, everybody learns the best. Gardner talked about the modalities of learning. Brain science has proved that everybody learns best when they're having all the methods of learning, not just the kinesthetic, not just the oral, not just the visual. Everybody learns better when you conspire with all of those neurons hooked together. I'm going to jump by this quick, but we went from the written era to the television era. I think what I'll do today is close with this thought on patterns, and then we can do this again and go deeper into each of the other pieces. But Tom Zerner wrote a book about the brain, and he says your brain craves patterns and searches for them endlessly. In the absence of adequate sensory input, it will even make its own. Do you like to doodle during a lecture? Guess what? If you were really tuned into that lecture, you would not be doodling. You'd be on there every word, or if they were telling a story or something, but your brain isn't getting enough stimulus and patterns, so it makes its own patterns on the paper. Do you ever tap your pencil or tap your foot? Your brain wants a pattern. The brain loves patterns. Can you read this for me? I bet you can.
I couldn't believe that I could actually understand what I was reading. The phenomenal power of the human mind. According to research at Cambridge University, it doesn't matter what order the letters are in. The only important thing is that the first and the last letter are in the right place. It can be a total mess and you can still read. It wasn't a problem. This is because the human mind does not read every letter by itself, but the word as a whole. Amazing, huh? Yeah, and I always thought spelling was so important. um, So why does music work as a learning tool? Full of patterns. It's got a rhythmic pattern. It's got a cadence to it. It's got notes that go up and goes down. If there are words, it's got rhyming words that pattern. The timbre is hitting your brain in one place. The beat is hitting your brain in another place. The words are hitting your brain in multiple places. If there's a story in the song or a learning in the song, all my exes live in Texas. That's why I spend my time in Texas. All of those patterns are congealing together, myelinating the neurons, firing together and wiring together. And that's why you can't not remember that song. You might have hated the Macarena, but you could not get it out of your head, right? Because all the patterns congeal. That's why teaching with music and motion, turn it into a dance, or with your hands, I will both lie down and sleep. Yeah. That's why putting your whole body as a learning tool, all of those patterns. That's why creating art on whatever you're trying to learn. Art has different patterns in it. That's why turning your music and your motion and your art into a little show and tell theater. Honey, we don't move on to the next theme until you sing and dance and show me your art, right? And by the way, in a few years, we'll turn it into an NFT and you'll retire rich because we'll put it on the blockchain and you're going to make a lot of money. On your virtual refrigerator and your virtual space station and your virtual world. Okay. By the way, we're designing virtual space station schools right now. I'll show you some pictures of that. If you want to go to richlearning.com and go over to the coming next, richlearning.com. Patterns. Anything you can add as a pattern with the arts is going to be attentive and retentive. And if they create it and they have that ownership and they do it with some friends in a cohort, not just all by myself, you get the exobrain working, you get the camaraderie working. If you make it a challenge, what are 3 ways to solve this math problem or this relational problem? Turn it into theater. The play is the thing, right? Shakespeare, Hamlet, Act 2. All of that will just make you a better teacher and better parent, better listener, better friend, more fun to be around. And you might even like being around yourself more. If you get enough sleep, 6 weeks, right? Month and a half. Yeah, don't do 40 days. That's all I got.
I don't think you can say that's all I got after all of that. That is wonderful. Dr. Rich, thank you. This is wonderful information, especially for moms who are already getting into using the arts. Maybe some of them have been doing it for years, and this is just building, giving them more of the why and more encouragement to continue doing what they're doing. Some of them are just getting started and really struggling with this is what public school looks like. This is what I should be doing. But you're telling me I should, we in the Well-Educated Heart, we can do it like this. And you're helping to support that and help everybody understand why these things are important. And I love all of the sleep information. Gosh, that just puts us ahead. So thank you. Thank you.
So on Tuesday at 2 Central, I will be at the Nobel Conference. Every year, they do a different science, faith, and ethics conference at a college, Gustavus Adolphus College here in Minnesota. And they take the kids who are going to be the pages at the fall conference, and they give them a week camp. So I'll have like 15 teenagers who are going to be the pages at the adult conference. We'll have 3 sleep experts on the Tuesday show next week. So yeah, I'll do sleep and faith. There's a scientist and an ethicist. So that's what we do on this coming Tuesday at 2. And if you go to our Rich Learning International Facebook group, if you join the actual private group, we put some videos and such that aren't in the regular world on that as well. I'd love to have you there. And
Yeah,
then the next week we do live from Camarillo, California, the founder of Movie Guide, which reviews all of the movies for clean family content. So that's the rest of the month.
that's fabulous. And I did join your Facebook group. I encourage the rest of the mamas to do that too, if they're so inclined. We do have a note here that says, loved this. My 15-year-old heard you talking about sleep and she said, I have to get my notebook. So she ran to get her notebook to put it in there.
Well, I can send you the PDF, Lori.
Great. I will send you messages about those things that you shared with us. I know moms were interested in the sign language, the ASL for the scriptures also, and a lot of moms were interested in helping you with your 36 language. I can't remember what you said. English
Well,
facts.
what I would do is I would send you 12 of the first 12 scripts. So you see the scope and sequence of where we're starting.
Yeah.
And I did the goofy cartoon voices for them. We'll have professional actors eventually. We can't afford it right now, but if you want to see where we're going with that, I can send you the first 12.
Great. Great. Yeah, we're interested. And we already did, we're going to take you up on your offer to come back and share more. So we'll talk about that, the two of us, and bring you right back so that we can learn more from you and we can ask you more questions. So thank you again for being here. Oh,
Here's my mama and my dad.
oh, I love it.
They're on the other side of eternity.
Yes.
And here's my two little kids.
Oh,
And my daughter paints Norwegian rose mulling. And so
oh my goodness. Those are hers?
yeah.
Wow. That's beautiful. Well, this is what it's all about, isn't it?
Yes, and here's my prom picture.
Oh, I love it.
45 years with Arliss Joy.
I love it.
Take care,
This is great.
everybody.
Thank you. So good to get to know you more. Thanks
Okay.
for being here.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.